The obstacle is the secret doorway to everything you want. When you heard me say this phrase, it sounded wrong, didn't it? Completely backwards. Because we're used to seeing obstacles as problems. What is an obstacle anyway? It is a thing blocking you. It is a thing blocking the way to what you want. It is something that you have to fight, to bulldoze, to tear down, to outgrow, or somehow to defeat or move out of the way. So, how can an obstacle be a secret doorway? I mean, doorways are things we go through. Obstacles sound like the exact opposite. So on the surface, this doesn't make sense. But what if the sentence, the obstacle is the secret doorway to everything you want, isn't actually backwards? What if the thing that is backwards is the way we are used to looking at obstacles? What if obstacles are something completely different and have always been something completely different, and it's us that misunderstood what the role of an obstacle is? And how would your life change if you took a step back and allowed for the possibility that the obstacle isn't actually against you at all? Hello, my beautiful superheroes. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, hi. I'm Scarlet Grace, and this channel is all about helping you become the version of you who has it all. And by the way, if you feel stuck and you want better results in any area of your life without having to work even harder or constantly push things to change, you can work with me one-on-one. The link is in the description below. And if you prefer courses that you can do at your own pace, you will also find the links to all my courses in the description. So let's talk about obstacles. The phrase, the obstacle is the secret doorway to everything you want, sounds weird. It sounds like a weird riddle, right? Because normally, when something keeps blocking you, you don't think, oh good, a doorway, yay. You think, why is this happening again? What is wrong with me? What am I missing here? But here's the thing. The idea that the obstacle is actually a doorway is not new at all. The Stoics said it millennia ago. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. And if you truly think about it, it starts making more and more sense. Because if you are the one shaping every experience in your life, and there is nothing external that can actually ever harm you or block you, that by definition means that you are the one who put that thing in your path. It doesn't matter what the goal is. The obstacle to the goal is not something that just happened to be there. You somehow shaped the world to put it there. And if you shape the world to put it there, that means that it serves a specific purpose. It is not random. It is not something to blast away. It is useful to you in some way. You're just not seeing the way yet. And this ties all the way back to Carl Jung, who said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. So, what does that mean? This means that we don't just shape our lives through our conscious desires and our conscious goals. We are complex beings, and only one part of what we want is actually conscious. It's like the tip of an iceberg. The rest of the iceberg, most of the iceberg actually, is hidden in your unconscious mind. And if you stop seeing obstacles as inconveniences or things to be mad about or things that make you feel powerless, and you actually decide to take full responsibility for the life that you have right now, which means that anything existing in it is your creation, even if it's not conscious. I'm not saying that you consciously wanted that block to be there. Of course not. Otherwise, you wouldn't call it a block or an obstacle, right? But if it's there, that means that some part of you made it happen, put it there. So the question is not, how do I blast this obstacle away? The question is, what purpose does that obstacle serve? Because if you can figure out why you put it there, what you're gaining from it being there, you can do something about it. Think of it like this. Let's say that there is this huge bucket that you keep stumbling onto, and you're all bruised because you keep falling onto that bucket and you don't understand why it's in the middle of your living room. And one day you realize that the reason the bucket is there, even though you keep removing it, is because there is a leak from the ceiling and it's dripping in your living room. So when it's dripping, you take the bucket and put it so that it can collect the water. But then you forget that you put it there for that reason and you get angry because why is this bucket always here? But when you finally remember why the bucket is there, you can actually do something about it. You can call somebody to fix the leak so that you don't have to have the bucket there and you don't have to stumble onto the bucket and get your legs bruised. And I know this may sound like a very simplified, even childish analogy, but this is how obstacles, even the big ones, often work in our lives. So we don't really self-sabotage. What we do is we have hidden desires that, because we're not necessarily willing to acknowledge they exist, they become unconscious. But they need to be satisfied in some way. So what happens is you unconsciously create and manifest the circumstances to satisfy those desires, and because it's not conscious to you, it looks like a block because it's standing in the way of something that you are consciously aware that you want. So the solution to this is not to blast the obstacle away or to fight against it. The solution is to actually allow yourself to understand what the payoff is, because there is always a payoff. For example, when you're a kid and you're sick with the flu, that is not a positive experience. But maybe you get to watch TV for as long as you want and you get to watch all your favorite shows. Maybe, depending on what the doctor said, maybe you're getting ice cream because it helps with your sore throat. So, 2 benefits from being sick. That doesn't mean that you consciously decided to be sick, but there is a benefit even in a situation that is otherwise negative. So the question becomes, what is the ice cream to your current obstacle? What's the ice cream? What's the hidden benefit? What is the desire or the need that is satisfied by you having this obstacle there that you haven't realized up until now? And again, this is not to blame you for anything. We call it unconscious for a reason, exactly because we are not consciously seeing it. And oftentimes, those are things that we consciously don't want to see because they touch on big insecurities, on things that we're secretly judging about ourselves. And that is why it's not conscious, because you don't want to see it. It's not pleasant to see it. But if you actually allow it to be seen, it stops being a problem. Because if you allow it to be seen, you can do many things about it. You may discover that there are countless other ways to satisfy that same need or that same desire without it needing to block the conscious desire. And I'm going to give you a few examples so that you can hopefully start to understand what you're looking for here or how this process works. Because if you haven't noticed this in your own life until now, this probably sounds too vague and too weird, but I promise you it's not. The whole concept can be summed up as this. If you are dealing with some kind of obstacle that is not moving, no matter what you do, no matter what you try, that means that you have secret desires. You can call them counter desires, desires that go contrary to what you say you want. And those are either more than the main desire, or more likely, they're much deeper and stronger in intensity than your main desire. In other words, the payoff you get from the current situation or from having the obstacle in place is way bigger than what you expect you will get if your conscious desire happens. And that is why the obstacle isn't moving. Because deep down, some part of you believes that the current situation is better, that satisfying those secret desires is more vital to you than getting the thing that you consciously say you want. Let me give you an example. Let's say that what you want is a higher paid job. And you have all the degrees for that, you have the work experience, but for some reason, you can't get that job. For some reason, you never get hired for those positions, and you haven't tried once. Let's say you've been trying for 3 years. You tried to get a promotion to get to that job, and you're never the one to get the promotion. So you switched companies, and once again, you're never the one to get that promotion. And you applied elsewhere, you get turned down. And you don't understand it because they end up hiring somebody who is less qualified than you are or has shorter work experience. And you don't get why you're never the one to be getting that promotion. And you tried many different kinds of things. You tried networking harder. You tried imagining. You tried affirming. You tried getting more qualifications. It's still not happening. And it's driving you crazy because it's been 3 years. You keep fighting against those obstacles for 3 years and you don't get why it's not happening. And from the outside, it looks like there cannot be a counter desire to this. Like, you want a better paid job. Who wouldn't want that? Why would that be wrong? There's nothing negative about it, right? That's what it looks like on the outside. But if you look at what changes if you get that job, you may start realizing that there are many different reasons why not getting that job may be satisfying a deeper desire. For example, what are the jobs of your friends? If that job, the higher paid job, moves you to a different income bracket, you will be different than your friends. And have you noticed how people often are very judgmental when someone becomes more successful and suddenly has more money? You may notice that there are people, and maybe that in this case is your friends and your family, who are very judgmental of people with money or people they consider are rich. Maybe that is not objectively rich, but if you come from a very poor background, maybe that specific jump to that slightly better job that you want actually qualifies you as rich to the minds of the people you usually associate with. And they also happen to believe that rich people are corrupt, or people who come from a humble background and then get money become terrible people and they forget all about where they came from. So, what are the dangers of you getting that higher paid job? Your friends will not be able to relate to you anymore. And you will not be able to relate to your friends anymore. They might turn against you. They may actually start projecting on you that you are corrupted all of a sudden. You're a bad person, because that's what they believe for people from a certain level of income and upwards. And you're suddenly one of those people. You will lose your social support. You will lose the emotional support that you have been getting from your friends and family. People will be saying stuff like, you changed, even if you haven't. So you will basically experience being ostracized from your tribe. And that may sound kind of silly in modern times, but this is a fear that is hardwired into us. Because for millennia of human history, being thrown out of your tribe, your village, your community, meant almost certain death. You couldn't survive without others back then. You didn't have the choice to go and join a different group. You were born within a group. If the group rejected you, if you did something that got you thrown out of the group, there was no food, there was no water, there was no shelter, nobody would help you, and you would be alone in the wild, left to die. And even though this is not the situation today in modern society, where you can just make new friends, move to a different city, where you don't have to depend on other people necessarily accepting you or even liking you for you to have food and shelter and nice things and be safe, your brain didn't develop for modern society, and your brain reads life-threatening danger to this situation. So the block in this case is there because it is protecting you from something that your mind perceives as much, much worse. Your family and your friends turning against you, rejecting you, being all alone, nobody to talk to, nobody to hang out with, nobody to help you if you need something, being different. That is what your mind reads, and the need it is trying to satisfy is to prevent those things from happening, to maintain what you now have, to maintain community, to maintain the love of your loved ones, to maintain connection with the people you currently spend your time with. That is what it is trying to achieve. It is trying to satisfy your need for connection and belonging. And because the thing that you consciously want, the higher paid job, is a threat to that, that is why it created this obstacle in your path to make sure to stop you from getting the thing that ruins all of this, that robs you of all of those things. But this can only become visible if you consciously decide to stop judging the obstacle and allow your mind to reveal to you what is the payoff of the obstacle without judgment. Because if you don't ask that question, or if you try to ask that question but you're very irritated because you're only doing it to get that damn obstacle out of the way, you will not find out. Your mind will protect that unconscious desire, and it will keep it unconscious so that you will not ruin things. Because you looking at it while you're angry and you don't want it is not accepting. It is threatening that specific desire. So it will keep hiding it from you. But if you calmly ask that question, if you calmly allow yourself, without any judgment, to reveal what you're getting out of the negative situation, out of the obstacle, it will start coming to the surface. And if one thing hits you, it may be the only one, or it may be one of 20 things that you're getting out of the situation. But if you get even one thing, the key here is to not judge it, to not make yourself wrong. Because many people have this urge the moment they realize that, oh, I have been the one blocking this all this time because I have this stupid need to belong, for example. That just shuts the process down because you're not accepting. So your brain says, danger, we revealed one secret desire, and now he's angry, now she's furious. You have to do it in an accepting way. This is parts of you. This is not some enemy. This is part of your own self. And you are a complex being with complex desires. And all those desires have to harmonize so that you can move in the direction that you consciously want. So the key is not to judge yourself for having this secret desire all along, which proves that you have been the reason you are not getting the thing that you want. That's not it. The key is to listen to yourself, to allow this desire to surface and accept that, yeah, I have this desire and it's a valid desire. I don't need to blame it for anything. I don't need to make it wrong in any way. It has every reason to be there, just like my desire to get that higher paid job has every reason to be there. No desire is actually bad. There's no reason for you to judge any desire. And once you start understanding what those counter desires have been, now you can do something about it. Because now, for example, you can consciously decide that, okay, maybe that is a valid fear, that I'm going to lose my friends because they are going to be judging me. But the question is, do I actually want to have friends that don't like me unless I am broke? Is that the kind of support and community I want to have? Is that what I want to build my life around? Is that where I want my children to grow up? Because some of those people may not judge you, and that is great. But if you truly think that those people only stick with you because you have the same problems and that's the only thing that bonds you, maybe you now see that, hey, I actually deserve people who like me for me, not because I make them feel less bad about being broke because I'm broke too. And you can consciously decide to make new friends. Friends that fit who you are and the direction that you're going. And only keep from your past the people who actually love you for you and support you no matter what, whether you're broke or you're rich. And that is how you take the obstacle out of the way, because you satisfy that need to belong, to be part of a tribe in a different way that you choose, not in an unconscious way that just blocks the main desire of getting the job you want. Or let's say that your obstacle is that you want to lose weight and eat healthier foods. And even though you manage to stay on your diet all day long, at night you always binge eat. And you have tried every solution available to stop binge eating, but you keep doing it. And it's driving you crazy because you don't know why you keep doing it. It's like you're completely powerless to stop it. So if you take a look at that, not as this is a super annoying obstacle and I want to bang my head against the wall because I've tried everything and it's not going away and I don't freaking know why. If you take a look at it from the perspective of this is here for some reason, some part of me put it there because it is meeting some need I have. Either it is protecting me from something that it perceives as very dangerous, or it is satisfying a need right now. And I will allow myself to lightly, without any pressure, explore what the need might be. And by the way, this may not be something that comes to you the first time you ask that question. But asking is still very valuable, even if you don't manage to see what the hidden need is right away. Because when you ask, you give your subconscious mind the message, I'm listening. It is safe for you to reveal the secret desire to me. I'm not fighting you anymore. I'm on your side. Let me know what that secret desire is so that you can satisfy it as much as possible. So even if you ask right now and you cannot figure out what the need that gets satisfied is, or the secret desire that gets satisfied is through that obstacle, that's completely okay. Don't get frustrated. Don't blame yourself. Just call it a day and try again tomorrow and the next day and the next. Because every time you do this process, every time you sit with yourself and ask yourself, what is the benefit that I'm getting from this? It gives more and more reassurance to your mind that it is safe to surface that information for you. And it might happen when you're asking, or you may have the sudden flash of an insight later during the day, or it may take a few days or even a week, but it will come to you. It will, as long as you're not judging yourself and you give yourself the space for those secret desires to surface, they will. So back to the binge eating example. You take the binge eating and you admit to yourself that, hey, if this is there and it's not going away, and if I'm the one shaping my whole life experience and nobody else, that means that some part of me put that thing there. Some part of me wants to binge eat for some reason. So what could the reason be? If it's not a need for food, because if it was just you being hungry, you would stop eating the moment you felt full, just like you did the other meals during the day. So it's not that. It's not actual need for food. What could it be? And you can ask yourself, when do I have the tendency to binge eat? Because that may reveal what the need is. So let's say that you realize that you only do that when you're alone. You don't do that when you have a friend over in the evening. You don't do that when you're visiting family or traveling with your friends. You only do that when you're alone. So you say, okay, this is interesting. That seems to only be a need when I'm alone. I wonder what that is about. And maybe you discover that this is you feeling empty because you feel alone at night. And that's why you only binge eat when you're alone, but not when you have company or when you're with other people or you have somebody over or you're traveling with friends. And that is the need. You need more connection with people. And that's why you're doing it. Or maybe you discover that actually what it is hiding is this pain or disappointment around some other area of your life. For example, you may want a romantic partner and you were very disappointed from your previous relationship, and that's why you have been alone for a while. But deep down, you feel a strong need for a partner. And you're using food to numb that need. And it doesn't come up when you are with other people, because when you are with other people, you forget momentarily. You don't need a partner as strongly exactly because you have connection. So now that you know, you can do something about it. You can realize, for example, that if it's about connection, I don't have to binge eat. I just have to feel connected with people. Maybe I will text a friend. Maybe I need to make more friends. I don't have enough friends, and that's why I end up feeling lonely, and it turns into me binge eating at night in order to fill that inner gap. Maybe it's about a partner and you realize that, okay, I've been putting it off because my previous relationship was very disappointing, but it's time for me to find a partner. And I won't find a partner inside a bag of chips. So now you have control over what is happening, because the moment you realize what the underlying need or desire was and you satisfy it in some more direct way, the obstacle disappears on its own. You will not keep binge eating if the reason you were doing it was because you were lonely, and you find new friends or a new partner or whatever it is that surfaced as the desire that you weren't admitting up until now. But there is also a second kind of hidden desire that can pretty much manifest in similar blocks, but it's a completely different thing. And this is the case when you have a desire which is not actually the true desire. It is not just a desire that is contradicted by hidden desires. It's literally not the actual desire that you have. You're using it as a means to get something else, and it's the something else that you didn't recognize. For example, many people who want to be famous for something, famous musicians, for example, some of them truly want to be famous musicians. Why? Because they love music. Music is their whole life. That's what they're talented at. That's their honest desire, to have a successful career in music. But there's many other people who want to be famous musicians, for example, or that's what they think they want. And it's not happening. And if they actually sat with themselves and asked themselves, okay, why do I want this? And write down the first thing that comes to mind. And then they asked again, why do I want this? And why do I want this? And why do I want this? They would eventually realize that they would reach a desire that has nothing to do with the original desire. So, for example, I want to be a famous musician. Why do I want this? Because it is very good to be famous. Okay, why do I want this? What is good about it? Because everybody will know my name. Okay, why do I want this? Because that means that I will be important and people will know it. Okay, and why do I want this? Why is it so important to me to be important to people and for everybody to know me? Because I felt invisible all my life. And that's the desire. It's not about fame. It's not about success. You have felt invisible all your life. And you thought that what you wanted was to be a famous musician because secretly, without consciously realizing it, you thought this is a way to get what you want, to stop being invisible to people, to matter, to be important to them, for people to actually see you. But that is not the only way to get to that desire. And if you actually don't want to be a musician, that's a pretty bad way to reach the goal of mattering and being seen by people. There's millions of other ways, much easier ways, much faster ways that don't involve you being very talented in music, for example. But unless you realize that the true desire is not for me to be a famous musician, it's for something else, You will constantly going after the wrong thing and waste years of your life chasing something, and it is very possible that you will not even get the satisfaction that you were looking for from this desire, even if you get it. Because many people become famous, either musicians or in Hollywood, and they're still lonely, and they still feel that the people they want recognition from don't care about them. And that is why it is blocked. Because it is not giving you what you desire, because it's not the actual goal. Once you know the actual goal, once you know what your actual need or desire is underneath the big shiny goal, you can get it much faster. Sometimes you may even realize that there are ways to get it right away. You don't have to wait months or years for it. There's things you can do right now to get to that. But this cannot happen until you make that unconscious desire conscious, until it's not secret anymore and it's there in plain sight for you to see. Or maybe the same desire. I want to be a famous musician. You do the process and you come to the point where it's about the money. It's not about fame. It's not about recognition. It's not about being considered important. It's not about music. You want the money. And once you know that you don't have to be a talented musician to make a lot of money, because there's millions of other ways to make a lot of money, ways that are more pleasant to you and make use of your talents and the things that you enjoy doing that have nothing to do with music after all. But now that you see it, you can take action on them. There is no block. The block was your musical career because you didn't actually want to be a musician. The block is not there for making money. You just didn't realize that the goal was money all along. Maybe you felt that wanting money was a bad thing. Some people feel that they will be judged if they admit they want money, so they lie even to themselves and tell themselves, oh no, I just want to be famous and be a really good musician because that sounds more noble, less judged by people than saying, I just want to have millions and millions in the bank and do anything I want without worrying about money. But once you recognize it, you know that, hey, actually what I want is money. Who cares about being a musician? It's the money that I want. And things become easy. So sometimes the obstacle is like a guard dog protecting a secret desire you haven't acknowledged. And other times the goal itself is actually a disguise for a different desire hiding underneath. And that brings us back to Carl Jung and what he said. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. Until you allow yourself, until you give yourself permission to look at the secret desire hiding in the obstacle, you will think that it's not meant to be. You're not meant to have that job. You're not meant to become famous. Or you're not good enough to have that job. Or any variation of thing, and it will feel like fate. It will feel like you just can't have this thing for whatever reason. You're not destined to have it. Since no matter what you try, it doesn't seem to make any difference. But it's not fate. It's just an unconscious desire, and the moment you make it conscious, it unlocks the whole situation and you realize that what used to look like an obstacle is actually a secret doorway to everything you want.